everybody. My name is Mike McHale. I'm the commander of the Troy VFW, and I'm here today to welcome everybody to the memorial service here at Troy City Hall. I would like to start with our invocation. If everybody would like to stand, or it's... Almighty God, our Heavenly Father, in your hands are the living and the dead. We give you thanks for all those, our comrades, our sisters, who have laid down their lives in the service of our country. May they rest in peace, and may perpetual light shine upon them. May the good work of seeking justice for the oppressed and peace for all mankind be rewarded with success, that our sacrifices shall not have been in vain, and may we never fail to remember the awesome cost of the freedom which we enjoy. Amen. Please, everybody, please seat. Let's have a seat. I just wanted to give you a second here before we roll into the Troy Honor Guard. Of course, we're here to remember the fallen, for those that gave the ultimate sacrifice. Okay, now we will have the Troy Police Honor Guard give us the raising of the colors, and if you could please stand while the national anthem and the Pledge of Allegiance is said. At this time, I'd like to ask Jim Campbell to come up and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. And by the way, that was the Troy Heritage Concert Band. Thank you all.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks.
Everybody, please have a seat. At this time, I'd like to introduce all of our dignitaries that we have here. Mayor Pro Tem Jim Campbell just gave us our Pledge of Allegiance. Dave Henderson. Ellen Hornak. Representative Martin Howe, RELAC. Thank you, sir. County Commissioner Wade Fleming. Former Mayor Gene Stein. Former Mayor Pro Tem Mary Kerwin. Thank you all, and thank you for coming. At this time, I'd like to ask the Troy Heritage Concert Band to play our service hymns. And with that, and then when your service hymn sounds off, we'd like to ask you to stand and be recognized. First, we're going to have the Army. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. Sorry, Army. First, the Navy. Now the Army. Marine Corps. Air Force. Coast Guard. Thank you to all our veterans out there. At this time, I'd like to introduce our guest speaker. His name is Major Thomas Shields. He started out in 2000 at basic school, did several positions as the XO, Expeditionary Warfare School, recruiting, adjutant, 11th Marine Regiment, and presently he's the commander of our Detroit Military Entrance Processing Station, MEPS. Now let's keep this short. And his wife, that's not here today, and he's married to his wife Holly. With all that being said, let's give him a warm hand, Major Thomas Shields.
Mayor, thank you. Distinguished guests, Gold Star families, veterans organizations, and members of the community, thank you very much. I'm truly honored to stand here before you on this Memorial Day as we come together as Americans to remember and to honor the service and sacrifice of the generations of servicemen and servicewomen and their families that have given themselves up in defense of this great nation. Before I start, let me say that one of my duties that I did was at Marine Barracks, Washington, and at one point I think someone thought it was a great idea that if the rain did come in, I as one of the escort commanders, I had about 500 umbrellas, and the rain came in, and we had the president of the Philippines that was our guest of honor on that day. And for some reason, we just felt that since a tropical storm was coming into D.C. on that afternoon, that we would just let everyone get soaked. If that should happen to us here today, feel free to grab your umbrellas or go running for cover, and I'm sure you will give me the hook and pull me off stage in the event that it does take place. If he doesn't give me the hook, what I can tell you is that I put these all in plastic so that I can continue to sit here and read, and I will have no problem reading by myself if necessary. As stated before, I currently serve as the commander of the Military Entrance Processing Station here in Troy. I grew up just down the road in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and processed through this very station 15 years ago. I am honored to have the opportunity to serve back home in the state of Michigan and to serve in the great city of Troy. I reflected on my military career as I began to think about this morning and realized my career has guided me through the full gamut of a service member's life cycle. In no particular order, I have served in recruiting, processing, recruit training, deployable combat units, infantry and artillery. During that time, I've conducted retirements, funerals, and dignified transfers. That reflection led me to wonder what to say that hasn't already been stated. What could I possibly add to honor the great men and women of this nation that lost their lives in defense of it? I quickly came to realize it does not matter what I say. This is not about me, but more about restating our duty to honor and remember those that have gone before us. As I look out at this assembly of great people, I gain a sense of understanding. Collectively, we get it. We know the costs. Many of you have served or are serving. Many more live with the reality of having lost daily. This is the reason why we are here. However, it is what we do with this mutual understanding of Memorial Day that makes us different than everyone else. Memorial Day is more than a long weekend. Memorial Day is more than the beginning of summer. Memorial Day is more than pools opening and fun being had. It is a time to reflect on those that have given us that right to have that opportunity as we come together as groups, families, friends, and masses. It has been often stated that a disconnect between the American people and the military exists. I disagree. Today, the people of our nation will stand in silence to honor those who gave their lives in defense of this great nation. Our ceremony this morning is evidence against that statement. Innumerable Americans all throughout our nation and those overseas and on foreign soils will place flags in grave sites, have guns salute batteries, play taps, and gather to pay tribute to those that have gone before us, whether enemies or allies. Maybe at the macro level, people can see some disconnect, but I can assure you, as the commander of one of the 65 military entrance processing stations, that Americans of every demographic, religion, and gender continue to join our military. They join knowing they could be deployed and accept the real possibility they could soon be in harm's way. They do it for the love of this great nation and what it stands for. For many, it's opportunity, love of country, and desire to belong to something bigger than oneself. I will spare each of you the history lesson regarding our nation, as I believe many of you have a better understanding than I. However, it's important to realize that since the United States was founded in 1776, it has been at war or in conflict for approximately 219 of the 239 years of its existence. As a result, the fight for our freedom has come with great cost. World War I, 116,516 Americans died. World War II, 405,399 Americans died. The Korean War, 36,574 Americans died. The Vietnam War, 58,220 Americans died. Operation Desert Shield and Desert Storm, 148 U.S. battle deaths and 145 non-battle deaths. Operation Iraqi Freedom, 4,422 U.S. service members died. Operation New Dawn, 66 U.S. service members died. Operation Enduring Freedom, 2,318 U.S. service members have died to date as of the 14th of May this year. Wars are not without glory. They are not without heroes, but they bring such wretched loss for the loved ones. President Lincoln questioned that loss as a man who knew loss when he said, "We here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain. Furthermore, it's the job of the living to take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure." President Lincoln went on to say that honoring our servicemen and women that have made the ultimate sacrifice is the key to this great nation. We here living today have them to thank. The saying that they gave all their tomorrows so that we could have our todays is certainly as true on Memorial Day today as it has been in generations past. Prior to joining the military in June 2000, I regretfully admit my ignorance to honoring those that have gone before us. In no way was I ever disrespectful. Honestly, I truly thought I knew what it meant to understand, but I never faced it firsthand. My unit's flight to go train, simply to go train in California on September 11, 2001, served as an immediate wake-up call to reality, realizing our world had changed. Our generation was being called. Our need to be ready when the nation was least ready was being challenged. From that day forward, I was changed. Prior to taking command of the military entrance processing station, I served at the Marine Barracks. One of the barracks missions is to support dignified transfers at Dover Air Force Base and honor our fallen brethren at Arlington National Cemetery. The Commandant hand-selected 1 colonel, 1 lieutenant colonel, and 3 majors to serve as his direct representative during dignified transfers at Dover Air Force Base. I was extremely honored to serve the barracks in both these roles. The barracks is meticulous about precise drill, their immaculate uniforms, and their attention to detail. No item is too small. At times, Marines struggle with this. As the headquarters of service company commander, it was my responsibility to make them understand that it was not about them. Many of you here today, regardless of your services, may snicker at that comment. You snicker because at some point or another, you felt some of the ditties or the training were stupid or ridiculous. Then one day you realized the real reason behind that issue, and it all made sense. And you pressed forward and carried that legacy. Some of you may be fully aware of dignified transfers. For those that are not, these transfers occur following a casualty. These transfers, they are the first point of re-entry into the country for the fallen servicemen and women. As you can imagine, we do not dictate the time or date of these transfers, but we absolutely will be there waiting. These transfers are the rawest point of the casualty process. At this point, the family's been notified. The service member has been flown from overseas to arrive at Mortuary Affairs in Dover, Delaware. Despite not being able to view the serviceman, the family members typically want to be there when their loved ones arrive. These arrivals typically take place between 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. When the call comes in, regardless of what we're doing, we get to the vehicle and we begin the 3-hour drive to Dover, Delaware. At the point of arrival, we go to the dedicated hotel for the families on base and inform the families of the steps that will follow. We pass on our condolences and then prepare for the transfer cases. We are there despite extreme inclement weather, hazardous road conditions, or flight delays. Once there, we wait. During the waiting process, I would read the biography of the deceased to the carry team. I did this because I felt it was important for the Marines to understand that nothing of which we were doing was routine. Once the preparation was complete, the family is brought out to the flight line for the transfer cases to be moved from the airplane to the van. Our job is simple in its execution. We honor our fallen brethren at all costs. The cases do not move until we are there to say a prayer with the chaplain, to render honors as they transfer, and to carry it out with the highest level of dignity and respect for the first fallen service member and brother or sister at arms. Bottom line is we ensure every detail is right and do not rest until that has happened. Then it hit us. A Marine that had just transferred from the barracks. He was the Marine that would receive the casualty messages and pass them on to us so that we could take action. The Marine had departed the barracks about 2 months prior to his notification hitting the operations officer's inbox. He was in Afghanistan for about 6 days when he stepped on an IED. Now we were getting ready to go receive one of our own. I did not need to read his biography that night, as we all spoke about him because we knew him firsthand. Simply put, we honored him. For those that never left the battlefields, we must hold them up in ceremonies such as this and honor their memories. We honor them by living and by telling their story. On Memorial Day 1982, President Reagan stated, "Our first obligation to them and ourselves is plain enough. The United States and the freedom for which it stands, the freedom for which they died, must endure and prosper." Their lives remind us that freedom is not bought cheaply. It has a cost. It imposes a burden. And just as they whom we commemorate were willing to sacrifice, so too must we, in a less final, less heroic way, be willing to give ourselves. We need to think of the families and friends, perhaps. We need to think of the families and friends. Perhaps people we know, maybe people we do not know, and mark this special day by celebrating their legacy while grieving in their absences in our lives. They are not with us today in body, but certainly are with us in spirit. I stated earlier that I served as an escort commander for full honors funerals at Arlington National Cemetery. I spent a great deal of time conducting these funeral ceremonies. I spent even more time practicing to ensure I was prepared to honor our fallen brethren properly. Once again, in order to personalize each one, I read the deceased biography to the services, as I did with the dignified transfers. The ceremony is an amazingly beautiful place. If you haven't been there, you need to go. The lush green grass, full trees, rolling hills, and tombstones are breathtaking. The history is amazing. You can go on the website and see images attesting to this fact. What you won't see are the names on the tombstones. The families that go there and set out a blanket to be with their loved ones. You won't see the tears of a mother who has lost her loved one, but is standing 3 rows down, consoling another individual's more recent loss. You won't see servicemen and women in uniform present the slow rendering of a salute to their fallen brother and sister at arms. However, what you will see, generation after generation of Americans having displayed great physical and moral courage of free men and women. You will see anniversaries and birthdays are still being celebrated. Pictures and flowers are left behind for loved ones. Honestly, it is the most beautiful showing of respect, love, healing, and living on I've ever seen. President Kennedy once said, "A nation reveals itself not only by the men it produces, but also by the men it honors, the men it remembers." In order to ensure they live on, we must teach others about the sacrifice that they have made on their behalf, so that we might continue to enjoy the liberties and freedoms granted in our Constitution. Secondly, we can ensure they live on by telling their stories. Today, I spared you some details of my stories, but those need to be told. They need to be told at the picnics, the poolsides, during the vacations, and any chance that you get, they need to be told. Honor their sacrifices, tell their stories, and cherish their memories. If you're not the one telling the story, take time to listen to someone else's. Fallen, never forgotten. There's a great deal of focus on those that gave the ultimate sacrifice, as it should be. What cannot be lost in all this is the fact that everyone that goes to war is changed forever. Technology has increased the likelihood that many that would have perished in wars past will survive. They will return home. However, their fight will continue well beyond the battlefield. Some have injuries you can see, many do not. They will need help. Their families will need help, and we must be there for them. Clearly, we know the meaning of Memorial Day. We would not be here this morning if we did not. The voices of the past tell us to honor their sacrifices by living fully the freedoms and prosperity that they bought for us with their lives. Before we depart here today, I propose that each of us walk away from here with a rededication to honoring, remembering, and sharing the stories of those that have given the ultimate sacrifice in defense of this great nation. In the past 15 years, I, like many others, have experienced the guilty feeling and emptiness associated with the loss of a serviceman or woman. Many of them wear multiple hats. They are mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, friends, teammates, sons and daughters, heroes. Thank you for being here today to celebrate their lives and legacies of those that we have lost. Those missing in action or POWs, lost but not forgotten, and always, always revered. I'd like to take a quick moment to state that while recognizing those that have given the ultimate sacrifice, it is important that we do not forget those that are currently serving in harm's way as we speak. All of the good the military does today in the world is because of the legacy given to us by those who gave their lives in service. Their great display and moral courage is the will that separates us from our adversaries. It's an honor and privilege to serve this great nation. Semper Fidelis, and God bless.
Okay, now we're going to set the wreath at the monument. Major, will you join me? Please take your seats. Something I just came across talking to a fellow VFW commander up at Emmett. He acquired a letter that was written from a Marine to his mother back in April 16, 1945. It begins. Yes, Ma, I knew about Leo Butler being killed. I was only a little ways from him when he got it. But at the time, I didn't know it. Had I known it at the time, I could have gone to see his buddy because he was only 200 yards from me. But I had never seen him since I left boot camp. Ma, I don't know how I can ever write to his wife. I know she would want to know what I know about it. Anyway, I went to see his grave and have looked up some of Leo's buddies and company. He was very highly thought of by his company. His buddy said he was too brave. He was very highly, his buddy said he was too brave. He took so many chances. He had just shot a nip and raised up a little to get another clip of ammunition for his BAR, and a sniper's bullet hit him below the right shoulder. The bullet came out his back under his left shoulder. He didn't suffer any. The corpsman got to him right away, but it was no use. He never said anything, just smiled. The smile stayed on his face even after he was dead. I guess, Ma, Leo could smile because if ever any man went to heaven, I am sure Leo is there. The cemetery where Leo was buried is very pretty. There is a little white cross over the grave. His dog tags is nailed on the back of the cross. I put a little metal cross behind it. If ever you see a picture of it, it is the 8th cross and from the right in the 3rd row. You said his wife wants me to write her. I'll tell you what I think would be best. I'll write and tell Eddie, and then he can tell her, because he knew how to explain it better than I. Signed, Private Francis E. Morgan, Headquarters Company, 1st Battalion, 27th Marines. I thought it was appropriate. It actually almost brought a tear to my eye that time. Sorry, got choked up a minute. We have Joe Malla usually does his talks to the bricks, as you may already know, the bricks that we have, memorial bricks we have laying out behind you. He has 2 that are ready to be put in for a Robert D. Mann, U.S. Army, Vietnam, and Jackie Mann, Seaman First Class from the USS Pierce in the Navy. And then he has on order 2 from our Troy VFW post. One is Tom Cowan. I don't know the other name. Tom Cowan just recently passed. That is all for today. I appreciate you all coming out. Thank you. And please remember,